Greetings, math fans. All right, so this is day 3 of chapter 6, and in the last unit yesterday we covered substitution. All right, but that was kind of nice because everything was already solved for you. So you literally just took one equation and you plugged into the other equation. Okay, that was relatively mellow. All right. Okay, so this is a little bit more challenging today because now you have to solve for one of the equations before you can substitute it in. Okay, so the start of the lesson here is basically to identify which one's the easiest one to solve for. If you can look for the one, especially that is all by itself, the variable. So if it's just a y or an x all by itself, maybe it's a negative, maybe it's positive, but if it's all by itself, so it has a coefficient of 1, that's the best one to solve for. Sometimes it's a little more difficult than that, and sometimes you have to solve. Let's say it's all maybe divisible by 2. And you have to divide everything by 2. But again, for the ones that we're going to do here, these are all you solve for the easiest variable. So let's look at the first one. I have two equations, equation 1 and equation 2. You have to basically pick which one you're going to solve for. And I'm going to pick this equation. I'm actually just going to highlight and tell you which one I'm going to pick right away, just so you get the idea. I'm going to solve for that one right there. Because I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is subtract 13x. And so I'm going to put equation number 1 and I solve for y. Okay, so you basically you pick the equation that has the single variable if you can, and you solve for that. So obviously this one I'm going to solve for a there. So the equation is equation 2, and I'm going to solve for a. And this one I can solve for 1 or 2, but this one's positive, and I like positive values, so I don't have to divide by -1. So I'm going to go with equation number 1, and I'm going to solve for y. That's all you're doing for this part, okay? Just to identify what to solve for, okay? So this is, again, a little bit of review here because this one's already solved. This is pretty sweet. So I'm going to take this y, and I'm going to plug that y right into there. So it's 2 times y, which is 3x plus 1. Again, make sure you use your parentheses, plus x equals -5. Okay, so I distribute, so we get 6x plus 2 plus x equals -5. Combine like terms, so 7x plus 2 equals -5. Subtract 2. 7x equals -7, and then divide by 7, so x equals -1. Okay, x is -1, and I take that -1 and I plug it into the ones already solved, this guy right here. Okay, why you wouldn't want to plug it, if you would plug it into this one, you're kind of wasting your time because you're making more work for yourselves because you have to then solve for y again. When why do that? It's already solved for. So I'm going to take that -1 and I'm going to plug it in. So y equals 3 times -1 plus 1. So y is equal to -3 plus 1. So y is equal to -2. So that's your solution, -1, -2. Okay, it's not bad. So now it's a little more challenging because if you notice in number 1 here, you basically don't have anything solved for. Even number 2, nothing solved for. So you have to pick which one to solve for. And like if you look at number 1, you have x plus y equals 9. Does it really matter which one you solve for, x, y? No, whichever one's easier. So I'm going to go, just because we're used to solving for it, I'm going to solve for y. So I'm going to write it out here. X plus y equals 9. And then I'm going to subtract x from both sides, and I get y equals -x plus 9. And now I'm going to use substitution. I'm going to substitute that back into that y right there. So it's 4x minus parenthesis -x plus 9 equals 6. Okay? Pretty mellow. So 4x plus x, right? Distribute the negative. And then minus 9 equals 6. So you get 5x minus 9 equals 6. Add 9 to both sides. 5x is equal to 15, and then divide both sides by 5, so x equals 3. Alright, and then of course which one you substitute it into? You substitute it back into the equation I solved for. Again, it's solved for y. Why would you plug it in anything else? So I get y equals -3, so it's -x plus 9. So y is equal to -3 plus 9 is 6. So my answer is 3, 6. Okay, not bad. Number 2, that one is, you don't have a choice here. So what are you going to solve for? You're going to solve for x because it's all by itself and it's the only one to solve for then. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write x minus 2y equals 6. I'm going to solve for x. So you add 2y. So you get x equals 2y plus 6. And then I'm going to take that x and I'm going to substitute it into the other equation. Don't plug it into the original equation, guys. That's actually like a really bad thing to do, to plug it back in, because if you plug it in, everything cancels out and then you really didn't do anything. Okay, so you got to plug it into the other equation. So I get 3 times parentheses 2y plus 6 plus 2y equals 26. So you get 6y plus 18 plus 2y equals 26. Combine like terms, 8y plus 18 equals 26. Subtract 18, 8y equals 8. Divide by 8, y equals 1. Okay, pretty easy. And then of course we take that, what do you plug it into? Plug it back into the equation I already solved for. Always, always, always plug it into the one you solved for. So x equals 2 times 1 plus 6, so x equals 2 plus 6, so x equals 8. And there we go, 8 comma 1. Okay, not bad. Alright, again, you have your choice. I could do the x or the y, but I see a negative in front of the y, so I'm going to solve for x. So I'm going to write it out here, x minus 2y equals negative 25, and plus 2y. So I get x equals 2y minus 25. Now I'm going to show you one other thing here. This one, you could have solved for that one actually pretty easy, because what could I have done? I could have actually moved the y over, added y, and I get y equals 3x, and then that would have been easy. Okay, that's okay. I did this route here, no big deal. But I'm going to take this now and I'm going to plug it into that x right there. So 3 times x, so 3 times 2y minus 25 minus y equals 0. So 6y minus 75 minus y equals 0. So I combine like terms. I get 5y minus 75 equals 0. I'm going to add 75 to both sides. And 5y equals 75. Divide by 5 and use your calculator. Y is equal to 15. Okay, and then I'm going to take that 15, I'm going to plug it back into there, the one I already solved for. So x equals 2 times 15 minus 25, so x equals 30 minus 25, or x equals 5. Okay, so those are my two answers. My answer is 5 comma 15. All right, not bad. Remember I told you sometimes it's not as easy as finding one variable that's all by itself. Okay, but I want to point out that, do you guys agree that these are all even numbers? So if I divide everything by 2, if I solve for c and I divide everything by 2, I don't get any fractions. That's pretty sweet. So I am going to solve this equation for c. So let me write it out here. 2c minus 4d equals 8. I'm going to add 4d to both sides. So 2c equals 4d plus 8. Divide by 2. C is equal to 2d plus 4. Okay, so I solve for c, and then I plug it right into the other equation right there. So negative 3 times 2d plus 4 plus 6d equals negative 12. Okay, so we have negative 6d minus 12 plus 6d equals negative 12. That cancels, so we have negative 12. Oh, the variables cancel. What? All right, if you guys remember from back in the day, if the variables cancel, okay, so I'm going to write this out here. Variables cancel. So it's not like we have x equals something or y equals something. The d is gone. It's canceled. So this is only when the variables cancel. And think about it. The left side equals the right side. So in other words, this is true. If that's true, then it's the same line. Okay, we talked a little bit about different types of scenarios when we did graphing, right? If it's the same line, that's infinite solutions, and if it's a parallel line, so if negative 12 equals negative 7, so it doesn't equal it, and it's false, then it's going to be no solution because it's parallel line and they never touch. So you've got to remember this, guys. If their left equals the right, it's infinite solutions. You got to know that. That's if the left side equals the right side. That's true. Infinite solutions. The variables cancel. Have to know that. Okay? All right. Hope I don't scare you guys too much here. All right. What are we doing here? Well, we're solving for that x, of course. So x plus 3y equals negative 4. And so I'm going to subtract 3y from both sides. I get x equals negative 3y minus 4. And I'm going to substitute that back into that x there. So 3 times negative 3y minus 4 plus 6y equals negative 9. So negative 9y minus 12 plus 6y equals negative 9. Combine like terms, so I get negative 3y minus 12 equals negative 9. And then I'm going to add 12 to both sides. And I get negative 3y equals 3. Divide by negative 3. Y equals negative 1. Okay? Sounds reasonable. Okay, and then I'm going to take the negative 1 and I plug it into here, of course, as we always know. So we get x equals negative 3 times negative 1 minus 4. So x equals 3 minus 4, x equals negative 1. All right, there we go. So my answer is negative 1, negative 1. And remember, math fans, there's always a way to plug this back into both equations and check it to see if you got the right answer. Okay, it's always there for you. Okay, last one. I'm going to get rid of this a right here because it's got a negative, but at least it's all by itself. So I'm going to write out negative a minus 3b is equal to 5. And I'm going to add 3b to both sides. So negative a equals 3b plus 5. And then in order to get rid of the negative 1, or the negative in front of it, I can divide by negative 1. So a is equal to negative 3b minus 5. And then I'm going to plug it into the other equation. So 3 times negative 3b minus 5 plus 9b equals 2. So negative 9b minus 15 plus 9b equals 2. Uh-oh, the 9b's cancel. What? So negative 15 equals 2. Remember, this is false. False. So what do? What is the answer? The variables cancel again. Variables cancel. So the variables cancel. It's a special case. That's got to be in your brain, guys. If the variables cancel, special case, and negative 15 does not equal 2, so what do you think the answer is this one? No solution. Okay? So that's a special case. You guys have to know that. All right, so anyway, that is a pretty quick overview of what substitution is, where you have to solve for the variable first. And you guys should be good to go. All right, that's it, math fans. Have an outstanding day. Adios. Goodbye.